Okay, here goes nothing, guys. This is gonna be my repetition of the first class that I took, that Mary and I both took at the Orlando Stamp and Scrapbook Expo. And it was with a company called Peddler's Den, and we were using color to create depth and perspective. So, give me grace because I'm gonna try to repeat what I learned. The other thing is that the brooks and the rocks and the brook, I do not have this stamp. This was stamped for us, but we did get the foliage as a stamp class, or as a stamp with the class. So I'm gonna duplicate it using a covered bridge that this was my mom's, and it's been around. It's a wood block. It's from Stamp Cabana. Original price was $13.50. So I'm gonna use that and the stamp set that we got with the class. The image with the rocks and the brook, it was stamped for us. And then we also were given a piece of masking. So what we ended up with at the end was we made this image, this stamped image. So the rocks and all of this were stamped, and so was the masking. I think we just had to cut around this. And then we put that down and we stamped the foliage, and then we pulled it off and we started to color. So a few things that I don't have. Number one, I don't have this rocks and brook stamp. Number two, we used water-based inks for this, and you want to use like a dye, like a permanent dye ink, because our colors started to blend together. And I'm going to do a couple different things in this video. I'm going to use water-based inks, but I'm going to stamp the bridge and stays on permanent black. Then I'm going to color with alcohol. So that'll kind of create those techniques. We also this paper is like a glossy, not photo paper, but it's similar. And she provided that. And I think that's probably on their website. This stamp is on their website, and so is the free stamp set that we got. And this actually is really nice foliage. This is a nice set. I actually really, really like it. I could have bought this. I think it was at the show, but I kind of forgot, didn't think about it, got busy looking at all kinds of other stuff. And the other thing we got with this class was these little, let me find my instructions. So they sell these too. They're like a little, we got two of them. They're almost like the foam that comes on the back of stamps, and they're smooth. And they also sell a tool that we stuck it to, and we colored using that tool. And that was how we colored these rocks and stuff. And it really just kind of glided right over this paper. However, I have a lot of coloring tools already, and I really didn't see the need, I think, to buy that tool. So that's why I don't have the tool, but I just have these little sponges. So that's a few things about that class, and all the instructions were in here. They do have a YouTube channel. Tanya, I think it's weekly. She was great. She was a great instructor. Explained it. She did a really nice job. So that being said, I'm going to use mixed media paper. I just get this at Walmart. It's just I don't know, just in a binder. So I have a few sheets of that. I do have some masking. And I'm going to use Stays On for the covered bridge. And then I am going to use water-based inks for the foliage. And then I'm going to use Copic alcohol markers to color the rest of my bridge to get that depth. All right, so I'm going to set this aside, And we are going to, I'm just going to stick that masking piece back on the back of that. And let's do the masking piece first and get this in our permanent. And you can use those masking pieces over and over and over again. You can just stick them to the block, stick them to your stamp set, you know, whatever's easier for storing it. And can I go? No, I better go this longer image. And this, when you stamp on this masking piece, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just doing it so you know what you're covering up. So I am gonna try to get a nice image on here, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect on your masking. Yeah, like see how it didn't quite get all that? That's okay. But this is where you want to get a nice stamped image on your paper. And trying not to bang this as I put the ink down. All right, so I'm gonna try to stamp it low, because I didn't leave a lot of real estate on the top for the roof of this bridge, covered bridge, but I think we can make it work. And I was trying to pick something simple the first time around, so I wasn't trying to figure out a lot of different colors. The same with her image, you know, you're just kind of some greens and yellows. And these were Mary's inks, so I don't even know, I don't remember what colors they were now, but I do know they were water-based. Yeah, that came out nice. This is not quite stamped all the way, but it'll work. We could stamp another one, but we're just gonna go with this one for right now. Okay, now, let me set these pieces aside and let's cover this up. Now we need to cut out the masking piece. And we just have to worry about this top. We don't have to worry about this. So let's go ahead and this doesn't have to be perfect either, because you're actually going to put it just below the stamped image. So this doesn't have to be cut out perfect either. And I probably do need to know, yeah, this didn't stamp perfectly, but it's okay. It'll work. And I think for my branches, I think it's okay if I get some of the branches on this rooftop. That's actually not gonna bother me. So I might end up removing this masking earlier than we did on that brook. And save this because you can use this for smaller masking. So for example, we put our masking piece down over here, and we kept this down the whole time to do all of that foliage. Then we lifted it up and we stamped below. But because I might want some of that foliage hitting my roof, I might take that off a little bit, or a little bit earlier. So, okay. So what you want to do is you want to put this masking just below that stamped image. Just like that. So yeah, so it's okay. I've got some grass sticking up. Yeah, I think I might pull this off and put a few branches when we do the darker. So the technique was to do lighter ink colors in the back, and that's your background, and then the darker ink colors forward, and that brings them to the forefront. So for example, this yellow is further away, where this darker, which I think was black, is more to the foreground. So I think I'm gonna really kind of do the same thing. So I'm gonna grab, so I already have the stamps on their blocks, and I'm gonna grab, this one was the big, kind of like a tree branch with some foliage. So we're gonna do that one first in, I think, So Saffron. And then I'm trying to decide if I want to come over to the edge here. So I think I will. I think I'm going to just come in like that. Okay, then we're gonna do let me clean this off. We're gonna do we're gonna go light green and then to a dark green. So we're gonna go with this image, which is this one here. And I'm gonna go with Pear Pizzazz first to do a lighter green. Okay, then we're gonna go with, I think we're gonna do Pear Pizzazz with this same, do I wanna do the same, or do I wanna switch? I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna go back to this bigger one, and I'm gonna do a darker green. So now we're gonna go to Pear Pizzazz. Or no, I'm sorry, this was Pear Pizzazz. Now we're gonna do Old Olive. And then you'll start to see that this is gonna look closer. Yeah. Ooh, I love this. I love this idea. But see how I'm probably gonna want some stuff coming in to the rooftop. So I think right now, because this is a completely different stamp, I think I'm gonna take this masking off for the next darker colors, which were, I have to look at what those were. Yeah, because I think I want some of this coming in on the rooftop. So I'm just gonna stick this right on top of my stamp. We used this little skinnier branch, and I'm not really sure what color it was, but I think I might go with, I think I'm gonna do crushed curry. And this was, I'm pretty sure this was black, which was, see if I can find that stamp, this guy. Pretty sure we stamped this one in black. So these are the next two for the top of the skyline. And let me wipe this one off. And let's do crushed curry for the skinny branch. Yeah, I think I like it coming over. Now, because these are all water-based, I don't want to color this bridge with a water-based, because then these will all start to just bleed together. But you can see how this darker crushed curry compared to So Saffron looks a little more close up. Yeah, that's cute. Now, I can always add more of that later, but I think I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna do these bigger branches. And I'm almost afraid to do them in black. Which I know, I'm pretty sure that's what we did. I think I'm gonna do, let's do early espresso. Or could do like a basic gray. We'll go with early espresso. And make sure this is clean. And then we'll see what this comes out like. Ooh, I like the early espresso. I think that was a good choice. Oh yes, I love that. Yeah, and you can see how that looks almost like in your face, like those branches are right there. Yeah, cute. Okay, now we did the ground and the same thing. I'm gonna be using water-based inks in the foreground. So anything I color, I'm gonna have to color with alcohol ink. Otherwise they're just gonna all run together, which we did kind of experience that when Mary and I took our inks with us. So now we're going to do these grasses. So we did these smaller clumps of grass. Looks like we did them in a couple different colors. Lighter here, darker there. However, I'm only really going to be adding the grass down here. So I'm going to go with, this is going to be light. I'm going to stick with that. So I'm going to go back to Pear Pizzazz for the little guy. The cattails, it looks like we did the cattails in yellow. So I think I'll do the same thing with the cattails. And then this grass, this might be too big. I don't know if I'm gonna do that for this image. All right, let's start with the cattails, and then we'll do the lighter grass and see if we can, because we are going to create some water. So let's do some cattails. Ooh, that's pretty light. Well, yeah, those are pretty light. We'll do some grass. Okay, well, let's add, now I feel like it does need some darker grass. So let's add this taller grass. So this is this one in the middle. We're gonna do that with Old Olive, which is this darker. So let's try that. And where do we want to put this? Oh, these are the cattails. This one. So where do we want to put these? Maybe here. And maybe off. Do we want to do it like off to the... No, we don't want grass like right up in front there. Let's do one here. Okay, yeah, so that does look like it's right in our face. I think I'm gonna leave it just like that. I'm gonna leave it just like that. So at this point then, we started to color, and then the same thing, you know, the deeper the water, it was darker as it came and sort of flowed. And I don't think I quite finished. And then the rocks that were, you know, kind of more hidden became darker, and they were lighter on the top, you know, where the light was hitting the top of the rocks. So that's what I'm gonna do, that same idea, but I'm gonna do it with alcohol markers. So let me grab some of those, and we'll start with the barn and the water, and we're just gonna pick some blues and browns, and probably even the road will have some, we could go lighter and then darker as it gets closer to us. And let's try that. So let me grab, see what we got here. This is YG91. And, well, let me pause. I'm gonna pick some Copics and we'll come back. All right, I'm back. I grabbed a few different colors to create that dark to light. I'm not sure about the water. I think I'm going to start with the light, and then I'll work out, I think, toward the center with a darker. And then this is the darker blue that I picked, so. And I'm not a really good colorist with Copic. I do try and I practice, but I am not nearly as good as some people with the Copic coloring. I like to do it. I think it's very calming, but I feel like I definitely need more practice and more help with the color. So let me take a little blender here and see if we can blend some of that. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. And I brought in this is YG91, just for like these rocks a little bit. And to kind of do them a little darker up front here. And then I need a lighter. So this is W3, yeah. So then we want to kind of just go a little lighter as we go a little further away with that. Oops. Okay, now I want to add just a little bit inside where this grass was stamped. So where there's the darker line, I just kind of added just a little bit of this brown. And maybe a little bit more right in there. There. So I have just a little bit of light up in there. I'm going to come back to the water. I'm not liking the water. Then I'm going to do W3 and W5 for the road. And again, we're going to be lighter as it's, far away. And then I picked the W5 to get a little darker as it gets a little closer. And And I probably could have stamped, you know, some gravel. You know, I have some gravel stamps and stuff like that. I probably could have stamped that. I'm going back over it right now with that lighter, the lighter marker, just to kind of blend those two colors together. And there's no real definitive line for the edge of this rose, so I'm just kind of, and I can always stamp more grass over that. So I don't have such a line, but right now I am just kind of creating that line. And then I want this to be a little darker. I've never really colored anything with Copic that was just such an open space like this. But we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. There. And this is mixed media paper, which could be, you know, making a huge difference on how these alcohol markers are performing. But I do like that darker road up front. So those two were, yeah, that was the W3 and the W5. Now for the covered bridge, I picked 2 dark brown and 2 light brown. So I picked E31. Oh yeah, that's the same. E31, E77, and E37. So this is definitely going to be the back. I thought this would be toward the front of the covered bridge. And then I thought this should be the inside, but it's already stamped dark. So I'm not sure, I don't know what I'm actually gonna do with the inside. So let's do this lighter from the back. Let's pull this rooftop together here. And then we're gonna pick the E37. And then we're just going to kind of blend that E31 into that darker. I don't really think you can go wrong. It's a covered bridge, right? It could look old, it could look worn, sun bleached. I'm gonna go darker on the eaves. And then we'll just pull down with this lighter. This lighter brown. Well, I know this is becoming quite a long video, so I guess you could skip to the end and see how this turns out. And then let's use our blender pen and pull some of that darker down in there. And then let's keep going. This is the lighter. This is the E31. Well, I'm gonna go pretty dark under these eaves. Pull a little bit down in here. Trying to stay in line with this darker that I had on the rooftop. Let's see if we can pull this together. All right, and then we'll go back to the blender pen and see if we can pull some of that darker color down. Okay. It is kind of somewhat, you know, like I had said, it is, you know, sort of already darkened and, you know, heightened in certain areas with the stamp itself. Well, I'm not hating it. Okay. All right, now I want to go back to this warmer rock and I'm just kind of letting that dry and then come back in to do this darker rock area. Then I'm going to go in with a real light green behind for all this grass. So let me get, what do we want to do for that one? Maybe YG 23. That might be a good one. This is YG 24. Let's see if that one's, yeah, I think I like that. Shoot, I was trying not to make that distinct line there. Let me see if I can blend that out a little. And then let's take our stamp and let's put a little more grass in there. And we'll just kind of hide the line in that. Yeah, we want to go with Old Olive. We'll just kind of hide the line there. Ooh, that made that much better. Okay, let's do. No, I don't want to do that. I was going to do another stamp in there, but I think we're going to leave it go. All right, now, so I kind of like the road in this area. I'm just kind of filling in the foreground. With that lighter green. And then, whoops, wrong tip. And then kind of blend in that grass. So I'm blending, but I'm also kind of just lightening it up in this hillside. And then darkening up that spot there. Okay, now okay guys, so I think I jinxed myself earlier in the video when I said it was becoming a long video, because then my battery died. And I had finished pretty much coloring and blending this whole thing before I realized the video was dead. So here is how it turned out. And I think the video ended where I was blending the green into that hillside, but I think it turned out pretty well. And the other thing I think I colored off when the battery had died was the inside. So I did the inside of the bridge dark with a dark, and that I did with the E77, so a real dark brown. And I like how it turned out. I think I could probably get a little bit better at the coloring down the road, but same technique, all right, that we did with this. And I mentioned that this stamp set was free, but it came with the class price. So we paid for the class, we got the stamp set, and so on. But this was the one we did in Orlando. And then this is my attempt with my covered bridge. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a few techniques. Even coloring with Copic, I'm not the best, but it was fun to do. So leave me a comment. Let me know if you're interested in any of the Copic colors I used or anything like that. I will link Peddler's Den so that you can go to that website if you're interested in buying this stamp set that I used, or the one that I didn't have, which was this Rocks and Brooks set. And have a great day.